Hey guys, you guys are not gonna believe what I'm about to tell you. I just found out about the most amazing NASCAR driver ever. No, he did not win a bunch. This guy ran one race and then disappeared forever, leaving nothing behind but bounced checks and multiple arrest warrants. Today, we're talking about one of the weirdest unsolved mysteries in the history of cars. The guy who conned his way into NASCAR and then vanished. Let's get you up to speed on the guy who snuck into NASCAR.
A big thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring today's episode. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators. You can learn new creative skills like music production or graphic design, or improve a skill for the holiday season like the underrated, forgotten art of gift wrapping. Remember that incredible feeling you had as a kid just tearing the wrapping paper off a game system you got for your birthday? It was the best! So why be selfish and just toss all your gifts into a gift bag, depriving your family and friends from the same pleasure? In the class, Creative Gift Wrapping, simple methods for wrapping beautiful gifts that will wow your friends and family by forest culture design, you'll learn not only the art of wrapping a gift, but also how to easily design and create your own wrapping paper. Skillshare is curated specifically for learning, meaning there's no ads and they're always launching new premium classes so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. Plus, Skillshare's entire catalog of classes now offers subtitles in Spanish, French, Portuguese, and Dutch. What a gift. The first 1,000 of you to click the link in the description will get a free 1-month trial of Skillshare. So why wait? Learn now.
The early 80s were a magical time in America. Steven Spielberg discovered the nostalgic power of kids riding bikes. The personal computer revolution brought a blocky green version of the future into every household, and NASCAR's popularity, well, she was on the rise. People couldn't get enough sick, nasty American speed, including a weirdo that went by the name L.W. Wright. Nobody knows where this guy came from or who he was before, but for 2 weeks, and 2 weeks only in 1982, he went by L.W. Wright. He was a smooth-talking 33-year-old NASCAR veteran with 43 Busch Grand National races to his name. Or so he claimed. And claim it, he did. First in the office of a guy named Bernie Terrell, the owner of a Nashville ad agency called Space Age Marketing, which I can only assume dealt in regional plumbing advertisements and furniture stores. Wright pitched himself as an experienced racer on the rise who just needed to borrow some money to buy a new race car before the Winston 500 at Talladega. You know, normal stuff. He said he already had a race team together too, Music City Racing. Sounds legit, right? Now, LW claimed that country music legends Merle Haggard and T.G. Shepherd were his sponsors. Nobody would make that up, right? Because that's like a thing that you can easily check. They're very famous guys. That's like me using Ryan Gosling as a reference for a job. Fun fact, he hit on my girlfriend one time. I met him in a diner. He's like, "You ever tried this milkshake? It's got peanut butter in it." And I was like, "Yeah, man, it's great. Peanut butter's great." He's like, "It's like peanut butter and jelly, but it's a milkshake." Then he said some girl was like cilantro. I don't know what that meant. Now, let's just stop for a moment to consider the incredible audacity on display here. This dude, this total stranger, walks into the office of a popular marketing firm in Nashville, the country music capital of the world, AKA Music City, and says that he needs money to fund his racing team, Music City Racing, which is sponsored by two of the biggest country music stars in the world who also live in that city. All right, that's like walking into an Atlanta marketing firm and asking for money to fund Hotlanta Racing, a team sponsored by Outkast and Tyler Perry. How do you assume that no one's gonna check? That seems like something worth fact-checking. Wright's big brass act totally won over Bernie Terrell, who sounds like the smartest guy in the world. So much so that he gave LW, a man he literally just met, $37,000 and a semi-truck and trailer on the spot. That's $113,000 cash in today's money, plus a freaking semi-truck. Now, in an interview months later, Terrell said Wright got him good because he knew nothing about racing, which, you know, duh. I'm gonna add another fun fact here to ramp up the insanity. This meeting went down 2 weeks before the race, 14 days. Does 2 weeks seem like a reasonable amount of time to locate a race car, buy the race car, and prep the race car for one of the biggest NASCAR races of the season? I mean, at least 2 people thought so. The next guy is someone that you actually might recognize. Famous NASCAR driver, Sterling Marlin. Now, he wasn't so famous back then, but he was steeped in NASCAR from birth. His dad was NASCAR's most successful and certifiably insane driver, Cuckoo Marlin. It's a shame that there aren't any jokes to be made about that name. Absolutely none. So you'd think with multiple generations of NASCAR experience racing around in his brain dome, Sterling would be able to spot a fraud from a mile away. Or maybe he just wanted to see where this craziness was going, because Sterling offered LW his Chevy Monte Carlo from last season, a big brown 450 horsepower bruiser, good for 190 miles per hour on the straight at Talladega. On the spot, Wright coughed up $17,000 cash and a $3,700 check. Deal, shake hands, we're done. But there was one condition. Sterling wanted to serve as Wright's crew chief for the race. By the way, the race was only a week away at this point. So Wright said, yeah, dude, of course. I mean, he was honestly probably stoked out of his mind that his plan was working. Like, can you imagine what is going on in this guy's head right now? One, how do you decide to do this? And two, it just keeps working. It's like Mr. Bean sneaking into the Pentagon. This is like crack for con men. The con stands for confidence. And once LW saw his first couple cons worked out, he pulled maybe the boldest grift yet. This complete maniac cold called a renowned motorsports writer at the Nashville Tennessean newspaper. And not only did he feed him the same hot horse hockey that worked on the clueless advertising guy, he added an extra level. He told this guy that Merle Haggard, the king of outlaw country, was scheduled to appear at Talladega with his driver. Now, I want to remind you guys that Merle Haggard had no clue who LW Wright was, just like everyone else. But he did have a bit of a cocaine problem in those days. And maybe Wright thought that he'd read the blurb in the paper and assume that the whole thing was something he agreed to, but forgot about it. And then he'd show up on race day and pretend everything was cool. He'll be like, dang, I forgot to write that on my calendar. And my entire staff of people that work for me, the most famous country music star in the world, they all forgot too. I better get a plane ticket because I don't want to look like a jerk. Surprisingly, that plan didn't work. The article ran on April 25th, 7 days before the Winston 500. Merle Haggard did not notice, but the other country music star that LW claimed to be a sponsor of his team, T.G. Shepherd, well, his attorney did notice. Attorneys do coke too, but they also write stuff down. He called the newspaper immediately and told them that his client had no clue who this LW Wright guy was. And so the story ends there. Wright was busted. Not. The writer who wrote Wright's write-up called LW and confronted him. LW turned on the charm as hard as he could over an old-time corded telephone and said, well, I was kind of premature with the T.G. Shepherd and the Merle Haggard announcements. And somehow, it worked. Maybe it would have made sense if I was alive back then. Oh God, I'd be so rich. Because, you know, I would just lie, like I do now. Nolan's my son. All right, so let's recap real quick, guys. LW Wright has money, check. A semi-truck and a trailer, check. He's got a freaking race car, check. He's got an experienced crew chief from a legendary NASCAR pedigree, check. But now he needs a NASCAR competition license, something that's really hard to get after a lifetime of training and racing. There's no way you can get this in like 5 days, right? Apparently wrong. When LW showed up at the NASCAR credential office, nobody recognized him, which surprised pretty much no one at this point. But it wasn't much of a red flag because a lot of drivers were in and out of the sport in those days. A NASCAR licensing official asked LW for his racing history, and like my dad at the bar, LW listed off some races that he had competed in. And the dude gave him a license and cleared him to qualify. The vetting process was the honor system. Yeah, man, I played D1 ball. Yeah, won the Rose Bowl. We thought I was gonna get the Heisman. My parents were really upset about it. I won literally every single freaking Rose Bowl that year, dude. I'm gonna start for the Patriots. Yeah, I kissed my dad on the lips. Again, this was a different time. All of NASCAR's record keeping was written out by hand, then stowed away in a 3-ring binder in Bill France's sex dungeon. He's got one. I've been there. It's nice. It's one of the nicer ones I've ever been to. But there's another layer at work here, too. NASCAR had to follow something called the Right to Work law, which for them meant that if a driver could afford the fees and had a functioning race car, they legally had to allow them to at least try to qualify for the race. Incredible. Wright's race car was parked in the garage at Talladega Super Speedway, and Sterling Marlin was wrenching on it in anticipation for a qualifying run. All right, so maybe at this point, LW realized that he was actually about to push a 450 horsepower race car to its limits on the biggest, meanest, fastest stock car track in the nation, something he'd almost certainly never done before, but Mr. Wright was acting wrong. Sterling remembered him asking weird questions. Dummy questions that any driver would know the answer to. Questions like, hey Sterling, man, you seen my keys, dude? Can't seem to find my keys, dude. Keys? For your race car? There ain't no keys for a race car. Right. I was just joking with you, man. Got another question. What if I gotta pee in the middle of the race or poop or whatever? Is there like a bathroom break? Like we line up like we was in kindergarten or something? You do what you did when you had to piss in all them other races. Slow down a little bit, try to arc it out the window. Cool, man, yeah, I've been there. I knew he was a phony when he called his piss pee. I mean, so what? Maybe this guy's a dingus. There have to be some successful dinguses in NASCAR history. Let's see if he can qualify. All right, so Wright strapped himself into his race car, started it without a key, pulled out onto the track, dropped the hammer, and wouldn't you know it, the dude qualified for the race. He came in 36th in a 40-car grid and clocked a trap speed of 186 miles per hour. That's insane. Every step of the way, you're surprised that it worked. And now you're going almost 200 miles per hour on a racetrack in the early 80s. He definitely peed. He also crashed his car into the wall in the second qualifying lap. And he didn't have a backup car, which meant that the Music City racing crew had 48 hours to repair the badly damaged Monte Carlo for the race. But I mean, this guy's like a time lord, so like time doesn't matter. He started this whole thing 2 weeks ago. And by the power of blood, sweat, duct tape, Bondo, thick rubber bands, and JB Weld, and probably curiosity as to what is gonna happen at this point, Marlin and the crew mended the car in time for the 1982 Winston 500. Music City Racing, a team hobbled together in 2 weeks by a con man who'd almost certainly never driven a race car before, was on the starting line along NASCAR legends like Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt, Cale Yarborough. This was a position that many people spend their entire lives dreaming about. And LW Wright, or whoever he was, made it here by riding a wave of his own over-the-top bull for 2 freaking weeks. Honestly, respect, bro. No, let's be real. This dude was probably a psychopath, but he pulled off something most people believe is totally unachievable by the seat of his Wranglers, and he never lost his cool one step of the way. So whatever godlike status this guy was experiencing on the starting grid did not last long. Unsurprisingly, he was lapped almost immediately. He wasn't a good driver. He's not a race car driver. His total lack of experience finally caught up with him, showing the world a glimpse of who he really was. It's like, yeah, maybe I can like get hired to play bass for the Red Hot Chili Peppers because Flea fell off the roof while cleaning the gutters. But when we get on stage, I don't know how to play the freaking bass, you know what I mean? The guy's not a race car driver. Race officials black flagged LW off the track after 13 laps when it was painfully clear that he was a danger to himself and everybody else. It's like that scene in Ricky Bobby where he's going like 40.
Was that the other car?
But I mean, dude, 13 laps? That's 13 laps in a NASCAR race, right? And so I want to give a little credit where credit is due. When the black flag waved, LW pulled the number 34 Music City Monte Carlo into pit road, got out of the car, and vanished into thin air with Bernie Terrell's semi-truck. And to this day, no one knows who LW Wright was, or at least nobody who does is talking. He was never seen or heard from again. And as far as history is concerned, this guy only existed for 2 weeks in the spring of 1982. And if that isn't the American dream, then I don't know what is. If you guys know anything about this, I really want to get to the bottom of it. If like your weird uncle talks about how he raced in the Winston Cup and you're like, all right, Larry, you know, let us know, hit us up. I really, really want to find out more about this. It's a huge mystery. How do you do it? And then how do you disappear? I'm so impressed and just like intrigued. So let's get to the bottom of it.
Are you one of the millions of people struggling to stay warm by lathering hot beans all over your body? Are you tired of people judging you for wearing beans and constantly feeling a little sticky? Introducing the Donut Beans hoodie, available right now at donutmedia.com. This all-new thick boy is thicker than our normal hoodies, keeping you comfortable all winter long. So stop spending hundreds of dollars on new cans of hot beans to cover your body and get this warm, thick Donut Beans hoodie for only $49.98. That's way cheaper than $50. Oh, what? You thought this merch spot was done? Think again, bud. Take a huge whiff of the all-new Beans air freshener. No, it doesn't actually smell like beans. It smells like a forest. Hang a can in your rear view and let everyone know that you like to give it the beans. Upgrade your beans merch now at donutmedia.com. Nice.
Thank you so much for watching this video and everything else on Donut. Hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss anything. Click that like button. The views for this show have not been very good, and it's making me kind of sad, so we're totally changing the format and telling smaller stories. Let me know if you like it in the comments. Dropping new merch every single week. Go to donutmedia.com, sign up for our mailing list so you don't miss anything. We have a new point system. The more stuff you buy, the more points you get, then you get free stuff, and you get points on your birthday. It's nice. I love you.